Starting next school year, school districts across the Commonwealth might need to pay an additional 14% in tuition to the private special education schools that service the children whose needs local districts cannot provide. This increase is unprecedented compared to the annual adjustment that averaged at below 2% over the past dozen years. The state's Operational Services Division, or the OSD, determines the tuition for the private special education schools every year. According to the OSD, this additional funding is needed due to inflation for cost of living and staffing shortages. Municipal producer Yu Xiaoyuan talked to Superintendent Dan Gutekanst about how this will affect the Needham School District.
Why don't we start with the need for private special education services? How many students are taking private special education programs in the district right now?
So we have approximately 75 students who are attending a private special education school, most of them in Massachusetts, although we have a couple out of state as well. And these are children who have significant special education needs, and they may require a program that we can't provide inside our schools, and or they may require residential placement as well.
And the district pays tuition to those private programs.
Right. In order for us to be able to send a child to a program, say the Perkins School for the Blind, for example, which is a private school, that school has to be approved by the state of Massachusetts, first of all, and then they charge tuition. And so each year we build into our school budget the tuition costs for our children, and then we in turn pay those special education private schools tuition to educate our young people.
Dr. Gutekanst says this 14% increase will result in an additional $900,000 funding request in the fiscal year 2024 school budget.
I'm frustrated as a superintendent that the OSD unilaterally made a decision without any collaboration with some of the local districts or a conversation with some of the representatives that we have on the Mass Association of School Superintendents, for example, to kind of think through this and to plan for it so that it does not adversely affect school budgets. The result will be that other positions will have to be cut, which will affect other children, or programs that we'd like to implement can't be implemented because we will have to redirect significant resources to the private special education tuition fund.
In a letter Dr. Gutekanst sent to the governor's office, he asked the state to reconsider how to implement this increase.
There's no question that the private special education schools need additional funding and increased tuition to continue to provide great services for our kids, because they're our kids. My real question for the state of Massachusetts and the governor's office, the OSD sits inside the governor's office, is why not phase in this increase over 2 or 3 years? That would hit local districts in a much smaller way and would still provide the additional resources the private special education schools need.
Dr. Gutekanst said he was not sure if the state lawmakers would step in and include some type of funding in the state budget to help local districts with the increased costs.
But if they did, that, quite frankly, is something that's going to unfold in the spring. It is very possible that we may not know, even after town meeting. We may not know through town meeting. It just takes that long because the state's budget typically is not done until July. And by then if anything happens, it'll be late to start new programs. We will be able to hire some folks potentially to mitigate some of our needs.
The district usually starts the planning process around this time, so a budget that is approved by the school committee will be ready for a vote at the annual town meeting in May. Dr. Gutekanst said right now he had to include this sharp increase in cost in the budget. For the Needham Channel News, I'm Yu Xiaoyuan.